Hey, welcome everyone to another reading stream. Again, this week I will be finishing Halo: The Fall of Reach. Actually, if Mike Hill shows up, I'm gonna try to remember to. I'll let him know. But I did get the throne gift he sent. Basically, he gifted me the copies of the basically the first 4 Halo books. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to set up the photo box I have to take a picture of all 4, so it looks nicer than just laying them on my bed, basically, and doing it that way. All right, Mike. Yeah, the books came today. What I try to do is, like I said, like set up my photo box and as best I can to take a picture of them so that it looks nicer. So it looks nicer than like I said, like just laying them on my bed and taking a picture that way. All right. But if remember where we left off, so the Spartans are basically like everyone's on the pillar of autumn. Basically, the plan is or was to commandeer a Covenant ship, fly that Covenant ship to like one of the Covenant homeworlds, capture the leadership, and bring the leadership back alive. So basically, they can be interrogated. And just as they are about to leave, a message comes over, and it says, "Reach is under attack. Is under Covenant attack." So, we're reading chapters 30 through 33 today, and then on Thursday, chapters 34 through the epilogue. So, we'll be finished with Fall of Reach this week, and then after that, it's going to take a little bit of a break. While I get used to the school schedule, I'll be beginning my coursework beginning next week, and after that I'll have a better idea of the days I have free moving forward and the time, and so I will be able to gauge how many reading streams, most likely once a week basically, I'll be doing moving forward. So basically be like one chapter at a time for Agatha Christie's Evil Under the Sun. But anyway, so but without further ado, let's begin chapter 30. All right. So it begins with the transmission. 30 is very short. All right. 30 is very short. This is the transmission, basically. PLNB priority transmission XX087R-XX. Encryption code Gamma. Public key NA. From codename Coal Miner. Sorry. To codename Surgeon. Subject progress report Operation Hypodermic. Classification Eyes Only Top Secret. Section 3 X-Ray Directive. So, beginning to start file. Secured space dock repair bay Corvette circumference undergoing final stealth upgrades. Shipyard records successfully altered. Queries detected from transient AI. Operation deemed at risk of being uncovered. As per contingency plan Tango, ship registration number scrambled. Hard isolated from dockside computer network. Counter-intrusion software implemented. Alpha security protocols enacted on board. Just as you called it, sir, don't worry. As far as the station's computers are concerned, circumference never even existed. End file. Scramble destruction process enabled. Press enter to continue. Alright? So basically... So, I go this way. So basically, we're kind of like working backwards a little bit. So we're like getting basically like perspective. What happens? Basically, like the lead up to like what's going on, right? Chief Petty Officer McRobb entered the command center of Remote Sensing Station Fermium. Lieutenant J.G. Bill Streeter and David Breitling stood and saluted. He wordlessly returned their salutes. The wall-sized monitors displayed the contents of the last slipstream's probes, multi-dimensional charts, a rainbow of false color enhancements, and a catalog of objects adrift in the alternate space. Some of the new officers thought the representations looked, quote, pretty. To Chief McRobb, however, each pixel on the screens represented danger. So many things could hide in multidimensional space. Pirates, black marketeers, the Covenant. McRobb inspected their duty stations. He double-checked that all programs and hardware were running within UNSC specifications. He ran his hand along the monitors and keypads, looking for dust. Their stations were in tip-top shape. And considering what they were guarding, Reach, anything less than perfection was unacceptable. He made certain his crew knew it, too. Carry on, he said. Since the Battle of Sigma Octanus, Fleetcom had reassigned top people to its remote sensing stations. Chief McRobb had been pulled from Fort York on the edge of the inner colonies. He had spent the last 3 months helping his crew brush up on their abstract and complex algebras to interpret the probe data. Ready to send out the next set of probes, sir, Lieutenant Streeter said. Linear accelerator and slip space generators online and charged. Set for 30-second return cycle and launch, Chief McRobb ordered. Aye, sir. Probes away, sir. Accelerated and entering the slipstream. Fleetcom didn't really expect anything to attack the Reach military complex. It was the heart of the UNSC military operations. If anything did attack it, the battle would be a short one. There were 20 super Mach guns in orbit. They could accelerate a 3,000-ton projectile to 0.4 the speed of light, and place that projectile with pinpoint accuracy. If that wasn't enough to stop a Covenant fleet, there were anywhere from 100 to 150 ships in the system at any given time. Chief McRobb knew, though, there had been another military base that was once thought too strong to attack, and the military had paid the price for their lack of vigilance. He wasn't about to let Reach become another Pearl Harbor, not on his watch. Probes returning, sir, Lieutenant Breitling announced. Alpha re-entering normal space in 3, 2, 1. Scanning sectors. Signal acquired at extraction point minus 45,000 kilometers. Process the signals and send out the recovery drone, Lieutenant. Aye, sir. Getting signal lock on. The lieutenant squinted at his monitor. Sir, would you take a look at this? On the board, Lieutenant. Radar and neutron imager silhouettes appeared on screen and filled the display. Chief McRobb had never seen anything like it in slipstream space. Confirm the data stream is not corrupted, the chief ordered. I'm estimating that object is 3,000 kilometers in diameter. Affirmative. 3,200 kilometer diameter confirmed, sir. Signal integrity is green. We'll have a trajectory for the planetoid as soon as Beta probe returns. It was rare for any natural object this large to be in slipstream space. An occasional comet or asteroid had been logged. UNSC astrophysicists still weren't sure how the things got into the alternate dimension. But there had never been anything like this, at least not since... Oh my god, McRobb whispered. Not since Sigma Octanus. We're not waiting for Beta probe, Chief McRobb barked. We're initiating the Cole protocol. Lieutenant Streeter, purge the navigational database, and I mean right now. Lieutenant Breitling, remove the safety interlocks on the station's reactor. His junior officers hesitated for a moment. Then they understood the gravity of their situation. They moved quickly. Initiating viral data scavengers, Lieutenant Streeter called out. Dumping main and cache memory. He turned in his seat, his face white. Sir, the science library is offline for repairs. It has every UNSC astrophysicist journal in it. With navigation data on every star within 100 light years, the chief whispered, including Sol. Lieutenants, you get someone down there and destroy that data. I don't care if they have to hit it with a goddamn sledgehammer. Make sure that data is wiped. Aye, sir. Streeter turned to the comm and began assuming frantic orders. Safety interlocks red on the board, Lieutenant Breitling reported. His lips pressed into a single white line, concentrating. Beta probe returning, sir, in 4, 3, 2, 1. There. Off target 120,000 kilometers. Signal is weak. The probe appears to be malfunctioning. Trying to scrub the signal now. It's too much of a coincidence that it's malfunctioning, Streeter, the chief said. Get fleet comm on Alpha channel on the double. Compress and send the duty log. Aye, sir. Lieutenant Streeter's fingers fumbled with the keypad as he typed. Then had to retype the command. Log sent. Beta probe signal on the board, Lieutenant Breitling reported. Calculating the object's trajectory. The planetoid was closer. Its edges, however, had abnormalities, bumps, and spikes and protrusions. Chief McRobb shifted and clenched his hands into fists. It will pass through Epsilon Eridani system, Lieutenant Breitling said, intersecting the solar plane in 17 seconds at the system's outer edge at 041. He inhaled sharply. Sir, that's only a light second away from us. Lieutenant Streeter stood and knocked over his chair, almost backing into the chief. McRobb righted the chair. Sit down, Lieutenant. We've got a job to do. Target the telescope array to monitor that region of space. Lieutenant Streeter turned and gazed into the rock-solid features of the chief. He took a deep breath. Yes, sir. He sat back down. Aye, sir. Moving the array. Gamma probe returning in 3, 2, 1. Lieutenant Breitling paused. There's no signal, sir. Scanning. Time plus 4 seconds of counting. Probe may have translated on a temporal axis. I don't think so, the chief murmured. Lieutenant Streeter said, telescope array now on target, sir, on the main on the main view screen. Pinpoints of green light appeared at the edge of the Epsilon Eridani system. They collected and swarmed as they were caught in a boiling liquid. Space stretched, smeared, and distorted. Half the stars in that region were blotted out. Radar contact, Lieutenant Breitling said. Contact with more than 300 large objects. His hand started to shake. Sir, silhouettes match known Covenant profiles. They are accelerating. Yeah, so what? I have a Mountain Dew on there. Lieutenant Streeter whispered, on an intercept course for the station. FleetCom network connections are being infiltrated, Lieutenant Breitling said. His trembling hands could barely type in commands. Cutting our connection. Chief McRobb stood as straight as he could. What about the astrophysics data? Sir, they're still trying to end the diagnostic cycle, but that takes a few minutes. Then we don't have a lot of options, McRobb muttered. He set his hand on Lieutenant Breitling's shoulder to steady the young officer. It's all right, Lieutenant. We've done the best we could. We've done our duty. There's nothing more to worry about. He set his palm print on the control station. The chief locked out the reactor safeties and saturated the fusion chamber with their deuterium reserve tanks. Chief McRobb said just one last order to carry out. So I'm going to pause there before I read chapter 32. And take a water break. Some abnormalities. Some? Anyway, chapter 32. Something was wrong. John felt it in his stomach first. A slight lateral acceleration that became a spin strong enough that he had to brace his legs. The pillar of autumn was turning. Every other Spartan in the storage bay felt it as well. They paused as they unloaded equipment from crates and readied the cryotubes for their journey. The lateral motion slowed and stopped. The pillar of autumn's engines rumbled like thunder through the hull of the ship. Kelly approached him. Sir, I thought we were accelerating to enter slip space. So did I. Have Fred and Joshua continue to prep the tubes. Have Linda get a team and secure our gear. I'll find out what's going on. Aye, sir. The Master Chief marched toward the intercom panel. He hated being on spaceships. The lack of control was disturbing. He and the other Spartans were just extra cargo in a space battle. He hesitated as he reached for the intercom. If Captain Keyes was involved in some tricky maneuver or engaging an enemy, the last thing he needed was an interruption. He pressed a button. Cortana, we've changed course. Is there a problem? Instead of her voice, however, Captain Keyes spoke over the channel. Captain Keyes to Spartan 117. He replied, Here, sir. There's been a change in plans, Keyes said. There was a long pause. This will be easier to explain face to face. I'm on my way down to brief you. Keyes out. John turned and the other Spartans snapped to their tasks. Those without specific orders checked and rechecked their weapons and assembled their combat gear. They had all heard the captain, however. The sound receivers in their armor could pick up a whisper at 100 meters. And the Spartans didn't have to be told this was trouble. John clicked on the monitor near the intercom. The forward camera showed the Pillar of Autumn had indeed turned about. Regis Sun ablaze in the center of the screen. They were heading back. Was something wrong with the ship? No, Captain Keyes wouldn't be coming to brief him if that was the case. There was definitely a snag. The elevator doors opened and Captain Keyes stepped off the lift. Captain, on the deck, the Master Chief shouted. The Spartan stood at attention. At ease, Captain Keyes said. The expression on the captain's face suggested that ease was the last thing on his mind. He smoothed his thumb over the antique pipe the Master Chief had seen him carry. There is something very wrong, Keyes said. He glanced at the other Spartans. Let's talk in private, he told the Master Chief in a low voice. He walked to the monitor over this intercom. Sir, the Master Chief said, unless you wish to leave the deck, the Spartans will hear everything we say. Keyes looked at the Spartans and frowned. I see. Very well. Your squad might as well hear this now, too. I don't know how they found Reach. They bypassed a dozen intercolony worlds to get here. Doesn't matter. They are here, and we have to do something. Sir, they? The Covenant. He turned to the intercom. Cortana, display the last priority alpha transmission. A communique flickered on screen, and the Master Chief read. United Nations Space Command Alpha, priority transmission 0459er 2Z-83. Encryption code red. Public key, file Bravo Tango Beta 5. From Admiral Roland Fremont, Commanding Fleet Officer, Fleet Com, Sector 1, Commander. UNSC service number 00745-1678-HS. To all UNSC warships in Epsilon Eridani system. Subject immediate recall. Classification classified. Start file. Covenant presence detected on Reach System's edge coordinates 030 relative. All UNSC warships are hereby ordered to cease all activities and regroup at Rally Point, Zulu, at best speed. All ships are to enact the Cole Protocol immediately. End file. Cortana has picked up ship signatures on the Pillar of Autumn sensors, Captain Key said. She cannot be sure how many because of electrical interference, but there are more than 100 alien ships inbound toward Reach. We have to go. We have our orders. The Section 3 mission has to be scrubbed. Sir, scrubbed? John had never had a mission cancelled. Reach is our strategic headquarters and our biggest shipbuilding facility, Master Chief. If the shipyards fall, then Dr. Halsey's prediction of humanity having only months to survive will shrink to weeks. The Master Chief normally would never have contradicted a superior officer, but this time duty compelled him. Sir, our two missions are not mutually exclusive. Captain Keyes lit his pipe, in defiance of 3 separate regulations of igniting a combustible on the UNSC ship. He puffed once and thoughtfully examined the smoke. What do you have in mind, Master Chief? 100 alien vessels, sir. Between the combined force of the fleet and Reach's orbital gun platforms, it is almost guaranteed there will be a disabled ship my squad can board and capture. Captain Keyes mulled this over. There will also be hundreds of ships exchanging fire with another. Missiles, nukes, Covenant plasma torpedoes. Just get us close enough, the Master Chief said. Punch a hole in their shields, long enough for us to get on their hull. We'll do the rest. Captain Keyes chewed on his pipe. He tucked it into the cup of his hand. There are operational complications with your plan. Cortana has been running the Pillar of Autumn shakedown. We have our own AI, but by the time we get it initialized and running this ship, the battle may be over. I see, sir. Captain Keyes gazed a moment at the Master Chief, then sighed. If there is a disabled Covenant ship, and if we are close enough to it, and if we're not blown to a million bits by the time we get there, then I'll transfer Cortana to you. I've flown ships without an AI before. Captain Keyes managed a weak smile, but it quickly disappeared. Yes, sir. We'll be at Rally Point Zulu in 20 minutes, Master Chief. Have your team ready by then, for anything. Sir, he saluted. Captain Keyes returned the salute and entered the elevator, puffing on his pipe and shaking his head. Master Chief turned to his teammates. They halted what they were doing. You all heard. This is it. Fred and James, I want you to refit one of our Pelicans. Get every scrap of C-12 and shape a charger on her nose. If Captain Keyes downs a Covenant shield, we may have to blast our way into the ship's hull. Fred and James replied, Aye, sir. Linda, assemble a team and get into every crate Oni packed for us. Distribute the gear ASAP. Make sure everyone gets a thruster pack, plenty of ammo, grenades, and jackhammer launchers if we have them. If we do get on board, we may encounter those armored Covenant types again. This time, I want the firepower to take them out. Yes, sir. The Spartans scrambled to make ready for the mission. Master Chief approached Kelly. On a private comm channel, he told her, Crate 13 on the manifest has 3 Havoc nuclear mines. Get them. I have the arming cards. Ready them for transport. Affirmative. She paused. The Master Chief couldn't see her face past the reflective shield on her helmet, but he knew her well enough to know that the tiny slump of her shoulders meant that she was worried. Sir, she said, I know this mission will be tough, but do you get the feeling that this is like one of Chief Mendez's missions? Like there's a trick? Some twist that we've overlooked? Yes, he replied, and I'm waiting for it. And that ends chapter 32. Take a quick water break, and then I'll be reading chapter 3. It's going a bit quicker than I anticipated, but then I forgot chapter 30 was only like 2 pages. Alright, chapter 33. It'll be nearly done with the Fall of Reach. We'll have only 1, 2, 3 chapters, and then the epilogue left. Okay. Chapter 33. The Pillar of Autumn detonated its port emergency thrusters. The ship slid out of the path of the asteroid, missing it by 10 meters. The Covenant plasma trailing them did not. It impacted the city-sized rock and sent fountains of molten iron and nickel spewing into space. 9 of the 10 teardrop-shaped Covenant fighters, nicknamed Seraphs by Oni, dodged the asteroid as well. The 10th ship slammed into the asteroid and vanished from the bridge's view screen. The other single ships accelerated and swarmed around the Pillar of Autumn, harassing her with pulse laser fire. Cortana, Captain Key said, activate our point defense system. The Pillar of Autumn's 50mm cannons flashed, chipping away at the Covenant's ship's shields. Already engaged, Captain, Cortana said calmly. Ensign level, Captain Key said. Engines all stop and bring us about 180 degrees. Lieutenant Ikawa, ready our MAC gun and arm archer missile pods A1 through A7. I want a firing solution that has our archer missiles hitting with the third MAC round. On it, sir, Lieutenant Ikawa replied. Aye, sir, Ensign Lovell said. Answering the engines all stop. Coming about. Brace yourselves. The Pillar of Autumn's engine sputtered and died. Navigational thrusters fired and rotated the ship to face the real threat, a Covenant carrier. The enormous alien craft had materialized aft of the Pillar of Autumn and launched their signal ships. The carrier had then launched 2 salvos of plasma, which Captain Keyes had only shaken by entering the asteroid field. Cortana maneuvered the massive Pillar of Autumn like it was a sporting yacht. She nimbly dodged tumbling rocks, using them to screen Covenant plasma and pulse laser bolts. But the Pillar of Autumn would emerge from the asteroid field in 20 seconds. Firing solution online, sir, Lieutenant Ikawa said. MAC gun hot and missile safety interlocks removed. Ready to launch. Fire missiles at will, Lieutenant. Rapid fire thumps echoed through the Pillar of Autumn's hull, and a swarm of archer missiles sped toward the incoming carrier. MAC gun is hot, Ikawa said. Booster capacitors ready. Firing in 8 seconds, sir. I must make one small adjustment to your trajectory, Lieutenant, Cortana said. Covenant single ships are concentrating their attacks on our underside. Captain, with your permission? Granted, Key said. Firing solution recalculated, Cortana said. Hang on. Cortana fired thrusters, and the Pillar of Autumn rotated belly up. Brought the majority of her 50mm gun cannons to bear on the Covenant Seraph fighters underneath her. Overlapping fields of fire wore down their shields, punctured their armored hulls with 1,000 rounds, tore through the pilots with a hail of projectiles, and peppered their reactors. 9 puffs of fire dropped behind the Pillar of Autumn and vanished into the darkness. Enemy single ships destroyed, Cortana said. Approaching firing position. Cortana, give me a countdown. Lieutenant Ikawa, fire on my mark, Captain Keyes said. Ready to fire, aye, Lieutenant Ikawa said. Cortana nodded, her trim figure projected in miniature inside the bridge holotank. As she nodded, a time display appeared, the numbers counting down rapidly. Keyes gripped the edge of the command chair, his eyes glued to the countdown. 3 seconds. 2, 1, mark. Firing, Ikawa answered. A triple flash of lightning saturated the forward view screen and bled in from the viewport. 3 white-hot projectiles crossed the black distance between the Pillar of Autumn and the Covenant carrier. Along the side of the carrier, motes of light collected as they rebuilt the charges of their plasma weapons. Archer missiles were pinpoints of exhaust in the distance. The carrier's pulse lasers fired and melted a third of the incoming missiles. The Pillar of Autumn rolled to starboard and dove. Captain Keyes floated in free fall for a heartbeat, and landed awkwardly on the deck. The granulated surface of an asteroid appeared on their port camera meters away, then vanished. Captain Keyes was grateful that he never had time to initialize the Pillar of Autumn's AI. Cortana performed superbly. The trio of blazing MAC rounds struck the carrier. The shield flashed once, twice. The third round got through, gutting the ship from stem to stern. The carrier spun sideways. Her shield stuttered once, trying to reestablish a protective screen. 100 archer missiles struck, cratered the hull, blossomed into fire, and sparked in smoldering metal. The alien carrier listed and crashed into the asteroid. The Pillar of Autumn had just narrowly avoided. It stuck there, hull broken and cracked. Columns of fire blossomed from the shattered vessel. Captain Keyes sighed. A victory. The Spartans, however, would not be taking that ship into Covenant space. It wasn't going anywhere. Cortana, mark the location of the destroyed ship in the asteroid. We may have a chance to salvage her later. Yes, Captain. Ensign Lovell, Captain Keyes said, turn us around and give us best speed to Rally Point Zulu. Lovell tapped the thrusters and rotated the Pillar of Autumn to relative space normal with reach. The rumble of engines shook the decks as the ship accelerated in system. ETA 20 minutes at best speed, sir. The battle for reach could be over by the time he got there. Captain Keyes wished he could move through slip space for short, precision jumps like the Covenant's. That carrier had materialized a kilometer behind the Pillar of Autumn. If he had that kind of accuracy, he could be at the rally point now, and be of some use. Any attempt to jump in system, however, would be foolish at best. At worst, it would be a fatal move. Jump targets varied by hundreds of thousands of kilometers. Theoretically, they could re-enter normal space inside Reach's sun. Cortana, give me a maximum magnification on the 4 cameras. Aye, sir, she said. The view on the forward screen zoomed in, jumped and refocused on planet Reach. 20,000 kilometers from the planet, a cluster of 100 UNSC ships collected at Rally Point Zulu. Destroyers, frigates, 3 cruisers, 2 carriers, and 3 refit and repair at stations hovering over them, waiting to be used as sacrificial shields. 52 additional UNSC warships inbound to Rally Point Zulu, Cortana reported. Shift focus to section 4x4 on screen, Cortana. Show me those Covenant forces. The scene blinked and transferred to the approaching Covenant fleet. There were so many ships, Captain Keyes couldn't estimate their numbers. How many, he asked. I am presently tracking 314 Covenant ships, Captain, Cortana replied. Captain Keyes couldn't tear his gaze away from the ships. The UNSC only won battles with the Covenant when they outnumbered the enemy forces 3-1, not the other way around. They had one advantage: the Mac orbital guns around reach, the UNSC's most powerful non-nuclear weapon. Some called them Super Mac guns, or the Big Stick. Their linear accelerator coils were larger than the UNSC cruiser. They were propelled... Sorry, I gotta answer that. Okay. Their linear accelerator coils were larger than the UNSC cruiser. They propelled a 3,000-ton projectile at tremendous speed and could reload within 5 seconds. They drew power directly from the fusion reactor complex planetside. Pull back the camera angle, Cortana. Let me see the entire battle area. The Covenant ships accelerated toward reach. The fleet at Rally Point Zulu fired their Mac guns and missiles. The orbital Super Mac guns opened fire as well. 20 streaks of white-hot metal burned across the night. The Covenant answered by launching a salvo of plasma torpedoes at the orbital guns. So much fire in space that it looked like a solar flare. Deadly arcs of flame and metal raced through space and crossed paths. The engines of the 3 reft stations flared to life and the plate-like ships moved toward the path of the flaming vapor. A plasma bolt caught the edge of the leading station. Fire splashed over its flat surface. More bolts hit and the station melted, sagged, and boiled. The metal glowed red, then white-hot, tinged with blue. The other 2 stations maneuvered into position and shielded the orbital guns from the fiery assaults. Plasma torpedoes collided with them and sprayed plumes of molten metal into space. After a dozen hits, clouds of ionizing metal enveloped the place where the 3 stations had been. They had been vaporized. The last of the Covenant plasma hit the haze, scattered, absorbed, and made the cloud glow a hellish orange. Meanwhile, the fleet's opening salvo and the Super Mac rounds hit the Covenant fleets. The smaller ship-based Mac rounds bounced off the Covenant shields. It took 3 or more to wear them down. The Super Mac rounds, however, were another story. The first Super Mac shell hit a Covenant destroyer. The ship's shield flashed and vanished. The remaining impact momentum transferred to the ship. The hull rippled and shattered to a million fragments. 4 nuclear mines detonated in the center of the Covenant fleet. Dozens of ships were down, with downed shields flared white and dissolved. The other ships, however, shrugged off the damage. Their shields burned brilliant silver, then cooled. The surviving Covenant vessels advanced in system. A third of their number were left behind. Burning radioactive hulls or utterly destroyed by the Super Mac rounds. Plasma charges collected on the lateral lines of the Covenant ships. They fired. Fingers of deadly energy reached across space toward the UNSC fleet. 1 Covenant ship sat in the center of the pack, a gigantic vessel larger than 3 UNSC cruisers. White-blue beams flashed from its prow. A split second later, 5 UNSC vessels detonated. Cortana, what the hell was that? Keyes asked. Level, push those engine superchargers as hot as you can make them. Running at 310%, sir, Level reported. ETA 14 minutes. Replaying and digitally enhancing video record, Cortana said. She split the screen and zoomed in on the huge Covenant ship, replaying the video as the large ship fired. The Covenant energy beams looked like pulse lasers. A tinged silver white, the same scintillation effect that they had seen when their shields were hit. Cortana switched back to the view the doomed UNSC destroyer Minotaur. The lance of energy was needle-thin. It struck the vessel on A deck, aft near the reactor. Cortana pulled the view back and slowed the record frame by frame. The beam punctured through the entire ship, emanating below H deck by the engines. It drilled through every deck and both sets of battle plate, Captain Keyes murmured. The beam moved through the Minotaur, slicing a 10-meter wide swath. Projected beam path cut through the Minotaur's reactors, Cortana said. A new weapon, Captain Keyes said, faster than their plasma, deadlier too. The large Covenant ship veered off course, accelerated away from the battle. Perhaps it didn't want to risk getting too close to the orbital Mac guns. Whatever the reason, Keyes was grateful to see it withdraw. Where did I leave off? Sorry, my mom is texting me. So. Unity forces slowly scattered. Some launched missiles to intercept the plasma torpedoes, but the high-energy explosives did nothing to stop the superheated bolts. 50 UNSC ships went up like flares, burning, exploding, falling toward the planets. The orbital super Mac guns fired. 16 hits and 16 Covenant ships were blasted into flame and glittering fragments. The Covenant fleet split into two groups. Half accelerated to engage the dispersing Unity fleet. The remainder of their ships arced upward relative to the plane of the system. That group maneuvered to get a clear shot around the cloud of vaporized titanium from the refit stations. They were going to target the orbital guns. Plasma charges collected along their sides. The orbital guns fired. The super heavy rounds tore through the clouds of ionized metal vapor, leaving whirls and spirals in the haze. They impacted 18 incoming Covenant ships, ripped through them like tinfoil with enough momentum to pulverize their hulls. 6 Covenant ships cleared the interfering cloud of vapor. They had a clear shot. The Super Mac guns fired again. Plasma erupted from the sides of the nearby Covenant ships. The Super Mac rounds hit the vessels and obliterated the enemy. The streams of plasma, however, had already launched. They streaked toward the orbital guns, impacted, and turned the installations into showers of sparks and molten metal. When the haze cleared, 15 of the Super Mac orbital stations remained intact. 5 had been vaporized. The Covenant ships engaged, the fleet turned and fled on an out-system vector. The remaining Unity ships did not pursue. Incoming orders, sir, Lieutenant Dominic called. We're being ordered to fall back and regroup. Keyes nodded. Cortana, he said, can you give me damage and casualty estimates for the fleet? Her tiny hollow image coalesced in the display tank. Yes, Captain, she said. She cocked an eyebrow at him. Are you sure you want the bad news? Damage estimates scrolled across his personal screen. They had taken heavy losses. An estimated 20 ships remained. Nearly 100 shattered, and burning Unity vessels floated, lifeless in the combat area. Captain Keyes realized that he was holding his breath. He exhaled. That was too close, he murmured. You could have been closer, Captain, Cortana whispered. He watched the retreating Covenant. Once again, it was too easy. No, it had been anything but easy for Unity forces, but the Covenant were certainly giving up far earlier than in any previous battle. The aliens had never stopped once they engaged an enemy. Except as Sigma Arctanus, he thought. Cortana, Captain Keyes said, scan the poles of planet Reach and filter out the magnetic interference. The view screen snapped to reach his northern pole. Hundreds of Covenant dropships streamed through toward the planet's surface. Get FleetCom HQ online, he ordered Lieutenant Dominic. Copy this message to the Fleet Commander as well. Aye, sir, Lieutenant Dominic said. Channel connected. Tell them they're being invaded. Dropships inbound at both poles. Dominic sent the message, listening a moment, then reported. Message received and acknowledged, sir. The Super Mac guns pivoted and fired, shattering dozens of the Covenant dropships in the shell's supersonic wake. The remains of the Unity fleet split into two groups, moving toward either pole. Missiles and the Mac guns fired and blasted the dropships to bits. The poles were punctuated with thousands of meteoroids as the bits of hull burned up in the atmosphere. Hundreds must have gotten through, Keyes thought. Incoming distress signal from FleetCom HQ. It's planetside, sir, Lieutenant Dominic said, his voice breaking. On speakers, Captain Keyes said. There are thousands of them, grunts, jackals, and their warrior elites. The transmission broke into static. They have tanks and flyers. Christ, they've breached the perimeter. Fall back, if anyone can hear this. The Covenant is groundside, massing near the armory. There, white noise filled the speakers. Captain Keyes winced as he heard screams, bones snapping, and an explosion. The transmission went dead. Sir, Lieutenant Hall said, the Covenant fleet has altered their outbound trajectory. They're turning. She rotated to face the captain. They're coming in for another attack. Captain Keyes stood straighter and smoothed his uniform. Good. He addressed the crew in the calmest voice he could muster. Looks like we're not too late after all. Ensign Lovell nodded. Sir, ETA to Rally Point Zulu in 5 minutes. Remove all missile safety locks, Captain Keyes ordered. Get our remote-piloted longsword into the launch tube. And make sure our MAC gun capacitors and boosters are hot. Captain Keyes pulled out his pipe. He lit it and puffed. The Covenant were, of course, after the orbital guns. Their suicidal frontal charge, while almost effective enough, had been just another diversion. The real danger was on the ground. If their troops took out the fusion generators, the Super MAC guns would be so much floating junk in orbit. This is bad, he muttered to himself. Cortana appeared on the AI pedestal near the nav station. Captain Keyes, I'm picking up another distress signal. It's from the Reach Space Dock, AI. And if you think this, she gestured at the incoming Covenant fleet on screen, is bad, wait until you hear this. It gets worse. And that's where I'm going to leave off. On that cliffhanger. So you're going to have to wait and see what it is. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. It went a little bit faster than I thought it would, because, again, I forgot how short Chapter 30 was. So we are nearly done with The Fall of Reach. So Thursday, I'll be finishing, basically, reading Halo The Fall of Reach with Chapters 34, 35, 36, and the epilogue. And the book will be finished. And after that, I'll be taking a little bit of a break. Probably only about a week or so, but a little bit of a break as I get used to the course schedule and so forth, the workload, and I know for sure, which I'm going to say, I'm confident now, basically, that moving forward, at least for the next 8 weeks, the streaming schedule for the reading streams will be every Thursday. And I'll be starting with Agatha Christie's Evil Under the Sun, and I'll be reading a chapter at a time for that. I've read The Hobbit, the Lord of the Rings books, so that's 4. Well, as far as books go, the Goosebumps book. I've read Clive Barker's Hellbound Heart, so that is 6. I'm not a dozen by now. I've read stories, basically. I've read stories, like Edgar Allan Poe stories and fairy tale stories, but like not exactly books. Because like for September, it was Hellbound Heart, and then I was reading the short stories and so forth, plus the Goosebumps book by R.L. Stine. So probably in terms of books, only 6, but then like a bunch of short stories and fairy tales. Well, read A Christmas Carol, but that was like a while ago, so I guess if you count that, 7. But still, like, not a dozen. I've, done plenty of reading streams, but as far as books go, not a dozen. But anyway, chat, but no stream tomorrow, because I ended up finishing Borderlands yesterday, so rather than even just playing an indie game, I'm going to take tomorrow off, return to the reading stream Thursday, and then Friday, I'll be playing, basically, when the game has finally dropped, basically officially, I'll be playing Resident Evil Requiem. I'm hoping to start on the early side so I can go for fairly long, but I'll be playing the new Resident Evil game Friday. I'm hoping maybe to play a bit of it more on Saturday, but that depends on when I get back from going out to lunch with my family. So I'm hoping we go out early enough, that way we can get back. And I can maybe, do a relatively short or so gaming stream before Elimination Chamber starts. So, I can't remember when I think, it starts at 7 Eastern? I don't quote me on that. But normally it starts at, 7 Eastern. But I could be wrong, because I haven't really been paying too close attention. I've been focused on, coursework. But anyway. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, so again, no stream tomorrow. I'll be taking tomorrow off. Thursday, finishing Halo The Fall of Reach, and then Friday, 7 Eastern. Okay, I was right, 7 Eastern. So I'm going to try to do it enough times so I can jump off and watch WWE Elimination Chamber. But, no stream tomorrow. Thursday, finishing Halo The Fall of Reach. Friday, maybe Saturday afternoon, Resident Evil 9 or Resident Evil Requiem stream. Sunday, Talk Nerdy to Us will be on my channel at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And then, well, of course, the course program starts. So basically, Mondays and Tuesdays will be out officially as far as streaming, because I will be going through the live lectures. So no streams those days. So back to basically a normal stream, relatively normal streaming schedule. Wednesday. So a week from tomorrow, once the coursework starts. Anyway, take care, everyone. Have a good rest of your day or evening wherever you are in the world, and I will see you all Thursday evening for the remainder, the end, the final chapters of Halo The Fall of Reach. Take care, stay safe, and peace.